Welcome back to the channel, horse racing fans. Welcome back to JM Racing, and I've been joined by a very special guest. I've been saving up all my money to try get his entry fee, and he's on the channel. Ginger Joe, welcome to the channel.
Hi, so Joe, thanks for having me on, mate. Can't wait for this. 9 races at Cheltenham, straight on to the Dublin Racing Festival. Let's go.
Yes, we've had some good action last weekend, on to this weekend, and we thought we'd talk through some of the best bits of racing at the Dublin Racing Festival. Race 1, Nathaniel Lacey starts us off. It's going to be my first ever punt on Irish soil. Joe, where is the winner going to come from? But first of all, Goodland the favourite. Is that a decent enough bet at 2-1?
I mean, I think he's a decent enough horse, but I don't know if he's a decent enough bet at 2-1, is he, Joe? We've got a really competitive race to kick us off here with some really good horses. I'm actually quite surprised that he is in there as favourite, but it does give Barry Connell a chance to send 2 nice horses to the festival, so I'm all for it if he goes and gets the job done, Joe. But just wanted to mention before I give you my selection is big props to Twiston Davis for taking We've All Been Caught over to the Irish side as well to contest with this one. He could have obviously ran at Cheltenham on Trials Day this weekend, but he hasn't. He's being brave, and I hope it obviously pays off for them as well. And that form's been franked nicely. Rock My Way actually won at the weekend, and of course he made some nice ground against We've All Been Caught when they met on New Year's Day. But the one for me here, Joe, is Absolute Notions at 10-1. A little bit of a sneaky horse here, one that maybe's gone a little bit under the radar, slightly forgotten. I just think he's quite a decent horse. He won 2 real nice races at Punchestown, and then it was really soft at Naas when he finished third behind In the Pocket in 3 cars, bragged by about 4 lengths. But that day conditions, the track was definitely suited to those front two, and he made some nice late on ground coming along. He's actually still 40-1 for the Albert Bartlett as well, so I think if he goes and wins well here, or at least puts up a good show, he's going to at least cut up a little bit. I'm hoping that Jack Kennedy or Gordon sticks Jack Kennedy on Absolute Notions, and he's going to be one for me at 10-1.
That is a very nice shout indeed. I am going to go with American Mike at 5-1, which is going to ruffle a few feathers in the horse racing community because he hasn't done a lot over hurdles, but like Envoy Allen, who didn't show much in his first few hurdle starts, he's had a break, he's come back. I'm hoping that a little bit of a break, step back up in trip, might be able to improve him. He's 5-1. I have put him up for the Ballymore as well, so the pressure will be very high. He is 5-1, so it is an each way to nothing bet. But of course, you do fancy the other Gordon Elliott horse. Am I crazy in thinking American Mike might win this?
Well, he's not one for me, Joe, just because of the progressive horses that are around him in the field. But he's definitely one that we know has got a big engine. And Gordon Elliott tells us he's a good horse. We've got no reason to believe anything else. And just going back to the jockeys a little bit here, we sort of had a brief chat prior to this. And I really hope that Jack Kennedy gets on board Absolute Notions. I think he'll suit him really well. And he has broken the last 2 times. But we did say as well, we think American Mike might need a bit of Davy Russell TLC to get him around there. But if he gets himself into a little bit of rhythm, jumps nicely, Joe, then he's got a good chance. I've got no reason to doubt you for sure. But as I said, I'm going to side with Absolute Notions, and we'll see how it all unfolds this weekend.
Definitely. Well, hopefully Gordon Elliott wins the horse with something, then at least one of us will be happy. He probably won't be winning the Irish Arkle, which we'll move on to now. Willie Mullins has half the field. We'll start with Appreciate It, who is being sent off some very short prices over his 2 starts over fences. He hasn't done a whole lot, but he also hasn't done a whole lot wrong. What do you make of his chances heading into this?
I mean, he's a little bit skinny at 11-8, I think, Joe. I mean, I've actually had a few calling him for the Arkle at bigger prices, but I started to get a little bit worried that Willie Mullins isn't too sure about his target yet myself as well. Only on the basis that if we go back and see how he ran when he came to the Champion Hurdle, 2 miles didn't really seem his bag over hurdles. And I know he's really, really good in the when he won the Supreme, but this is going to be a real different bag. 2 miles chasing around Cheltenham, he's going to have no chances for slip-ups. I really like his cruising speed, Joe, but again, this is Willie Bingo. Who knows what the answer is?
Yes, well, I definitely don't know what the answer is on that one. Next up in the market, another Willie Mullins trade horse, Dysert Dynamo, who I thought was pretty impressive on Chase debut. He won by half the track. He was given an uncontested lead and allowed to bowl on, but he did jump very well, and he's probably got a higher cruising speed. He's probably one that might tear off in front. I appreciate it might not be able to live with him early on. Of the two, which one would you fancy over this 2-mile trip?
Well, Dysart's definitely a bit of an enigma, isn't he? And we know we haven't seen the best of yet. He obviously fell when he was in the Supreme as well. And we probably could have found out a little bit more about him that day, provided he finished, but we didn't. Like you said, Joe, he did really good on Chase debut, and sometimes to me, I think the eyes just tell us a lot. I know, like you said, he had that uncontested lead, but he looked really, really classy. My only worry with him is that last year he did seem to get a little bit litter. Obviously, he's had a year to grow up a little bit now. He is actually a 7-year-old as well, so I'm hoping that would have ironed out those sort of immaturities in him. And I think I'd side with Dysart Dynamo, but it would only be slightly out of the two at this point. What about you then? Are you siding with either at the moment, or is there something else taking your eye?
Well, if you look down a little bit, horse number 6, Sanoir, who, of course, I'm sure everyone watching this knows, I've backed him in basically every hurdle on his running since he won the county hurdle, and he actually did win a Grade 1 last time, beat Phil Dorr by a couple of lengths, and he has taken to fences quite well. I'm not sure if he has the natural ability of the two higher in the betting, but at 7-1 if he does turn up, which you assume he would, at an each way angle of 7-1, and I guess the big question mark is who is going to ride him. You'd assume it'd be Mark Walsh, just because of the JP McManus connection, which probably would be a good thing, to be honest. He's a solid enough horse, and at 7-1 he's a decent each way play. Is there anything that catches your eye? Maybe a Phil Dorr, Banbridge at bigger prices?
No, I mean, I quite liked Phil Dorr as a bit of a dark horse before he ran last time out and got beat, and that did actually put me off him a little bit, especially when he was receiving a little bit of weight as well. Especially with him being 5 as well. He's only just turned 5. I think he's one maybe for next year, Joe, when we're talking about the better races next year. I think it was brave, though, again, like Gordon's decided to send him chasing early on in his career, and again, I think next year that'll actually probably bode quite well for him. That experience will really set him apart against a few of the others as he's really starting to progress as well. Sanoir, Joe, I'm leaving that to you. He's a real honest horse. You might as well have a tattoo of Sanoir on your arm or something. But I'm not sure who I fancy. It's not a massive betting race, but it's definitely one that we're going to learn a lot more about a few of the runners in it, that's for sure. And I can't wait to see how it unfolds. But just give me a few words on Al Fabiolo then, Joe. He's another one. I can't really figure him out too much at the moment, but I know he's down to go.
Yeah, he's another one where probably does have a little bit less experience with the one chase start. He was sent off 1-5 and he didn't beat much, but he won pretty nicely. He made all. It is going to be a different proposition today, just because I don't think he'll get to the front. There's going to be plenty of pace on, and will he kind of get blown out of the water a little bit early on? He definitely could do, just because Dysart Dynamo is going to tear off in front. Whether he can get into his rhythm in behind when he's not making all, that is another question. So I'm not too convinced by him, but if you had to go with one horse for this race, obviously you have said it's not a betting heat, but who do you think is going to get his head in front?
Well, it's just mad that Willie's sending all 5. So I'm starting to believe even he's playing Willie Bingo. I don't even think he knows where he's going to send them at the moment, Joe. But if I'm pushed for one, I'd like to say Dysart Dynamo, because he'd be the one that I'd be most annoyed about not backing if he went and won the race. So I'm hoping Dysart Dynamo is going to be the weapon that he sounds like, the weapon that he looks like, and I hope that he can get the job done.
Definitely. My head says Dysart Dynamo, my heart says Sanoir. We'll have to see what we end up backing. But as a whole, do you think we might see the Arkle winner in this race here, or do you think it's still going to be Jump On with the leading claims?
I do think the Arkle is going to come from the Irish side. I'd love John Bond to win it, but I can't help but think it's going to be something that passes him. He's so big, John Bond. He's massive. He doesn't even look like a 2-mile chaser. He looks like a gold couple. He really wouldn't look out of place in the lineup. So I think he will be better when he steps up in trip. Just the fact that there's nothing as good as John Bond this side of the Irish Sea. But again, Joe, we'll find out a lot more this weekend than I struggle to put my finger on it just yet. But yeah, hopefully we'll see a good thing come out and we've got a good race come March.
Yeah, you've broken my heart there slightly, but you might have a good case as well. On to the Irish Gold Cup then. Like quite a few of these races, it's not that much of a betting heat, but Galopin de Champs, where do you start with him? He's got every tick in the box. He must probably go and win this well at 4-11.
I mean, if you're going to back him for the Gold Cup, you're going to do it now, because I can't see anything touching him here at all. I really like Statler Joe. We've spoken again, even off camera, we both quite like Statler as a horse, but really disappointed that he didn't get it done last time out. And we can talk about tactics all day. He should have had the gears to get past Nederindo. Gold Cup winner or not, I just expected him to get the job done. I'm not surprised that they're both lining up here as well, so I'm not too sure where else they go prior to Cheltenham, but I would like Statler to run a decent race behind Galloping the Champ. But I can't see anything beating the favourite Joe. He looks like a little bit of a beast. No problem with him staying at Cheltenham. I don't see that being an issue at all. It's more a case of where's he going to be on that final turn. Is he going to actually target sat beside and waiting for a turn of foot or not? Not too sure, but for now, Joe, he's the winner of this Irish Gold Cup. No chance of anything catching him. Yeah,
I'd have to agree, and probably the front two is going to be first and second. I think Statler probably is best of the rest, although nowhere near Galopin Des Champs. The likes of Kemboy have been on the block, they probably aren't going to be good enough, so I'd have to say Galopin Des Champs. Obviously not for betting purposes, but he should be some watch. But we have both had a little look at the big handicap hurdle, probably one of the better betting heats of the day. Just not going to get into it too much, but we just want one selection and a ice each way player.
I mean, look, we can start with Maxim and Jungle Prosse. We know where they're headed. We know they're real improvers, Joe, but we're trying to find a little bit of value, like you said, plenty of places available. So I'm going to take a little look down the bottom of the weights here. Takarengo at 9 stone 11 for Thomas Mullins, and I hope it could be a big weekend for Thomas Mullins. He's got Facile Mode still in his care at the moment, and I think he's going to win the bumper on the same day as well. So I think I'll side with him, Joe. He's 25 to 1. He was actually 7th to Maxim at Leopardstown and ran a pretty decent race last time out at Cork. He finished second, dropping back to 2 mile forward. Looking like the step up back up in trip is probably going to suit him a little bit better as well. And it is a race where I'm not massively sweet on too much else. Obvious chances for those two at the front of the market. But with these sort of places available, Joe, I think Takarengo at 25 to 1, clearly coming into this race in good form, could be worth a little bit of a squeak.
Definitely worth a few pounds on. You've convinced me, at least. I'm going to tip up a horse where we probably both was drawn to him just because of the connections more than anything. Peter Fahey in this race, and we're talking about Surprise Package, who won the big race at Sandown just before Cheltenham at 20 to 1 that I tipped up. And this horse is a similar price, about 20, 22 to 1 in places. A horse who has some decent hurdles form over shorter trips, was 4th at Cheltenham in the Martin Pipe. That was off a mark of 135, just beaten a couple of lengths, and then he had some decent runs back in Ireland, and then he went jumping over fences, and he's never really looked at home. Comes back over hurdles for the first time today. I think that'll suit him a lot better. The step up in trip he's been crying out for. He's dropped a few pounds in the handicap thanks to some bad runs. He's had a month off the track. He'll be primed for this. I think he's going to go on to much better things, and with the extra places, he's going to be my bet at 20 to 1. So we've got a few nice horses at some big prices for today. But if there was just one horse that you're most excited to see on Saturday, who is the horse that kind of gets the juices flowing?
Like I said, I like Absolute Notions, Joe, in the first. The more I look at him, the more I fancy him. And I'm going to go and put him up on my channel for the Albert Bartlett before the weekend, just while I got the chance. So, Absolute Notions at 10 to 1, hopefully under Jack Kennedy to get us off to a good start in the Nathaniel Lacey.
Well, you've heard it here first on the JM Racing channel. A huge thanks, Joe, for coming on. A huge thanks for everyone watching, and we might be back for a part 2 if we can find some time. We'll be talking about the Irish Champion Hurdle and lots of other big races on the Sunday, so do make sure to subscribe. Thanks again for Joe coming on, and we'll see you next time.